We have something called the gut-brain axis. We have a direct connection from our brain to our gut. Imagine the fact that your brain is what's telling all the rest of your body what to do. But it's interesting because between brain and gut, there's this two-way connection where when the gut is unhappy, brain is unhappy. When I meet people and they say, I'm anxious, I'm overwhelmed, I'm depressed, I don't feel great, when we get butterflies in our stomach because we're nervous, this is gut-brain connection speaking to us. And it's so important that we address gut issues and build a gut health and a gut microbiome that's strong, that's diverse, that's resilient, so that we can have brain health on point. If you want productivity, if you want great mood, if you want great sleep, if you want to have focus, if you want brain fog to evaporate, a lot of the issues that we're dealing with right now in society, mental health is so much of an issue right now. All of it can be addressed first through gut. And then second, there are additional tools if healing the gut's not enough.
We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 Strength and Health Authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode.
Hello, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Strong by Design podcast. Hosting today, Coach Chris Wilson. So delighted to have you joining us today. The Strong by Design podcast, if it's new for you, we welcome you. We love new listeners, and we thank you so much for joining us, for finding us. And today's conversation will certainly be interesting to you, very informative. You'll learn a lot about the body, how it works, and maybe some things that are going on with you that you would like to know more about, or things that you don't want to be going on with you. So there's going to be a lot of interesting things today for me to learn, of course, because I love topics like this, but certainly very helpful and beneficial to all of you out there. So go back and binge. If you're new, you got to go back and binge. There's hundreds of episodes over the last almost 5 years that we've had the podcast. So there's a lot of really good evergreen, super amazing conversations we've had with experts from all walks of life that can really help you live a life strong by design. If you've been on the show or been listening to the show, and you know what's coming. You know there's going to be a lot of curious questions from me, because I like to take advantage of really smart people. And when I speak with them, I get to ask questions that I have that I think the audience members would have. And that's what makes for a really good podcast, a genuine, like authentic conversation between two people that has real direction. And so it's going to be a lot of fun, as always, here on Strong by Design. I will ask one thing preemptively as the Coast Guard helicopter rattles the whole building here. You can't hear it, but I can feel it. We live right next to, kind of across the road, is an airport, St. Pete Clearwater Airport, and it's a Coast Guard hub. So every day they're running missions and practice training things, and so we get the flybys all day long. It's kind of cool. But what I was going to ask of you, if you could think of one person you could share this episode with. I try to do that in every single episode here on Strong by Design, because these conversations are meaningful and can really help people in our life, can help a parent, a sibling, a close friend, a coworker, someone in your sphere that you could help improve their life with an hour-long conversation that can be really transformative for them. So thank you in advance for sharing today's episode and or the podcast as a whole. So our guest today, Dr. Shivani Gupta, and she reached out to us some time back, or maybe it was one of your assistants, to let us know a little bit about her, that she was familiar with our show and that she thought she would be a good fit. And I read her bio, I read what she's doing in the world, and I said, well, right away, I'm interested, because anything talking about the gut health, chronic inflammation, how to optimize your health and, just live a better life in terms of how you feel, how you function in the world, is always really, really cool and insightful. And people have all these different backgrounds who are experts in this field, but they come from lots of different backgrounds, right? So there's always different twists and directions to go with these conversations. So Dr. Shivani Gupta is an Ayurvedic practitioner. And if you don't know what Ayurvedic means or Ayurvedic medicine, don't worry, we will be touching on that today so you know what it is we're talking about. She studied in India and in the U.S. for over 20 years. She has been doing this work and helping people and being educated. And she has a Ph.D. in turmeric. And we talked about this pronunciation of that word, and I think I got it there. She's also the founder of Fusionary Formulas, which you'll hear more about towards the later part of the conversation. So welcome, Dr. Gupta, to Strong by Design. Great to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's great. You look so nice, and I mean, this is great. You have a nice background. It's very, I don't know. It seems very professional, very. Just nice. It's like, did you set that? Is that a setup for podcasting kind of, or is it just?
This is my office, but we like our office to feel as beautiful as our brand. So we have a lot of fun in here.
Yes. Yeah. Well, my brand appears like I sell action figures, but that's not our brand here at all. It's just like a fun, silly collection of items behind me here in my office, but has nothing to do with Critical Bench or Strong by Design. It's just silly personal stuff. But anyway, it's a real delight to have you on the show today, and I can't wait to get to some of these questions that I have for you, and our audience will certainly be breaking out their notebooks or getting ready to learn a little bit about their bodies and things. But tell me a little bit more about what got you first interested or going and moving in this direction of kind of more of a natural or holistic approach to your health and optimizing your health.
Sure. So I grew up here in the West. I grew up in Houston, Texas. And growing up, I would end up getting sick a lot. By high school, I was getting, infections all the time. The doctor would recommend antibiotics all the time. And I lived in two worlds. I'd be going to India every year to see my cousins and my grandparents and family. And anytime my stomach was upset or anything was wrong, my grandma would reach for the spice cabinet and she'd say, okay, here's a tea, just drink this and you'll be fine. And it worked. And when I was back home in Texas, I'd have the same issues. We'd go to the doctor and they'd say, here's an antibiotic. And so I took so much antibiotics by the time I went to college. I was in India once catastrophically sick. Like they thought they were going to hospitalize me. And I finally thought to myself, this is not working. Like something here is not working. My body needs to be something that I really take charge of. And so I was going to a Dr. Gupta at the time, and he's like, here's the 12 drugs I need you to take to fix your body. And I said, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about this for a minute. That antibiotic, can you take it down a couple notches? He's like, yeah, but it might not do what you need it to do. I was like, well, let's just not explode my gut. Like, let's consider that maybe I am a little sensitive. And then if those are for symptoms, I think Ayurveda is right outside your doors. We're in India, land of yoga and Ayurveda. Why have you not suggested some of those ideas? And that was my turning point. That set me on this journey of there must be natural solutions that we can use as adjuncts alongside the solutions that are going to work in a certain way so that we get the best possible solution. And so then I went on a journey. I studied Ayurveda here in the US. I studied it a lot in India. And I kept looking with the scientific mind for those nuggets and those key pieces that could help us with our health.
Wow. So, and this is from a fairly young age. You're what, a teenager at this point? Like when you first get this real bug and wanting to learn more about a better alternative way to deal with this chronic illness?
Well, I had been sick through high school. And in high school, I can't really say I was so conscious. I was just doing what I was told and not understanding why I was sick all the time. But by the time I left for college, I went to school in Boston. Because I left home, I had to suddenly figure out how to protect my own immune system and how to have a defense. And I didn't want to be sick all the time in college. And that's what was happening. And so that's why all of a sudden I was like, okay, I need a new toolkit. I need like my own system. So I got into working out very much. I got into eating cleaner. I understood that the school cafeteria might not be the best source of health for me. I had to put myself on my own diet and regimen that works. Then I learned about gut healing and inflammation and all these things and how Ayurveda approaches it. And that set me off on my journey. So yeah, freshman year of college, I was like, okay, I need a plan that works for me, and no one's giving me that plan.
Wow. And you quickly realized that the food pyramid was a bunch of crap.
Yes.
Here in the States. That thing's been, I mean, at this point, I don't know if anyone buys it, but I mean, boy, that's what I grew up with in the 70s and 80s was this is what you did. You eat 6 to 12 servings of bread and grain and, rice, pasta every day. And then you eat, only so much of this and only so much. And I was like, oh man, it's kind of totally backwards. Interesting stuff. Well, that's cool. I can imagine as a young person, if you were dealing with a lot of illness, like that you just couldn't seem to get past, and it would just continually pop up on the, that would be so super frustrating. I'm surprised more people from my generation weren't dealing with such things. Will you explain a little bit for our audience exactly define Ayurvedic medicine for us so they kind of get a better sense of what this looks like?
Sure. So Ayurveda is an entire system of medicine from India that's over 5,000 years old. So just like in China, they have traditional Chinese medicine that encompasses acupuncture and Chinese herbs and Qigong and all these different modalities that work together. In India, Ayurvedic medicine means the science of life. It means bringing the body, mind, and spirit into alignment so we can have true, vibrant health. And we get there by living a preventive lifestyle. So Ayurveda teaches self-care, detoxification, circadian rhythm. We teach about gut health being the center of all health. So Ayurveda knew 5,000 years ago that the gut microbiome is the key to all health. In Ayurveda, we teach that sleep, circadian rhythm, living according to nature's clock is the most powerful thing we can do for our health. We teach yoga. Yoga is a sister science. We teach about walking in nature and so many elements, but it's truly a lifestyle. It's not a diet. It's not a specific prescription. It's about sitting down with each person, understanding what their mind-body constitution is. We call that their dosha, understanding what herbs and spices and issues they have that they need support with, and then giving them that kind of blueprint for life that they can live with. And they might need to change it up every once in a while, but having a real game plan for a preventive, healthy lifestyle. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Yes, so many of us just are in this the patterns of life, going through day to day with very little self-care and emphasis on processed nutrition. And just out of convenience, right? And not spending enough time outside, not doing movements that the body really needs to do, and not getting the sunshine that we all deserve. I just, in fact, right before we started, I went out and just did a 10-minute stroll with one of my coworkers. It was a beautiful sunny day, and I always feel like everyone has 10 minutes in their day just to get some fresh air, get vertical, move their body, and give a little love to themselves. And that's as energizing, if not more energizing, than any other thing that people are doing. They live on stimulants and caffeine, and I'll pop this pill, I'll drink this drink, but really get up, drink some water, walk around outside, breathe fresh air, get some sun, and that probably is doing more for you than any of those things.
It's true. It's true.
Right?
Big prescription. Please go walk in nature. Nature heals all things. We just got through pandemic years. I feel like the more we can use and harness and transform with nature, the better off we are.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with that. A new friend of mine that was on our podcast very recently, he lives on a lot of acreage in Maryland. He has like 27 acres of land, and he loves he loves people, but he loves his private life. He loves being on his land and being in nature and building and working with his hands. And he had a video that I watched just recently about him just working in the outdoors, and the whole video is not really him talking at all. It's just him working, and you hear the sounds of nature and running water and leaves falling from the trees as he's working wood and building like a shelter on his property. And it's very soothing, and it's like his favorite thing in the world to do is just to work with his hands and be in nature and sunshine and getting a good sweat. And we've gotten so far away from that. And I know that's not exactly the conversation today, but it's worth mentioning because it does line up with what we are talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I want to talk, and we've had conversations in the past episodes, but I mean, only 2 or 3 or 4 of these a year is not really enough to reach all of our listeners. Talking about the gut health, or the impact of gut health on everything in our body, and people living chronically inflamed, and how it has such a nasty effect on our cognitive function. The gut and the brain are, directly linked. And so I wanted to just kind of start to go down that road, if you would. What did you start to learn when you started to take control of your life in those early years? What did you start to learn about your reaction to things, and what was the status of your own gut health at that point, and how did you start to resolve some of your issues?
Well, my biggest alarm was actually the fact that I couldn't drink orange juice anymore. So I got back to business school. In Boston, and all of a sudden I drank orange juice, and I was like, ow, what? Orange juice? I'm from Houston. I'm like a kid who loves like juice and all the things. And all of a sudden, certain foods, certain things, certain acids didn't work with my system. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm in college. I don't have a kitchen, and I'm going to have to now figure out what to eat because someone hurt my stomach. And at that time I got the flu, and I went to College of Health or whatever those nurse people are. And they're like, oh, we can't give you anything. Like your gut lining's destroyed. I'm sorry, just go and handle this. So my parents flew in and took care of me for a few weeks. I was that ill. And I said, you know what? We're not doing this again. This we will not do. I am building an immune system of steel. I am meant to do great things. My health will not get in the way of me doing those amazing things for this world. And that was just my stake in the ground moment where I was like, that's not okay that I unknowingly did things to myself that caused such harm. And so Ayurveda gives us tons of tools when it comes to gut health. We teach detoxification first and always. We want everyone to do a profound detox. So I convinced my parents, I said, look, I'm going to open an Ayurvedic spa. That's what I'm meant to do in the world. We need to go visit all the best ones in all of India. And so we went on a tour around India, and I was just a total nerd. I'd let them do everything to me. I got super clean, cleansed. In India, they're a little gross about it. They make everything come out of every orifice you could ever imagine. Oh. Enemas, colonics, really rough massages, chugging salt water, and then you barf it back up like neti pot. It comes out one nostril and through the other. Yeah. It's pretty intense. But it was effective because I came out very clean and clear. Couldn't party as hard and be as ridiculous in college, but I was on that journey of becoming a real health nut, and it really helped. So I learned when I travel, I'm traveling tomorrow, I have my entire supplement box that goes with me. I have my teas that go with me. I have a plan in place. Then I pack some clothes and stuff. But what I need for my health comes first above all now.
Wow. Yeah. Health over fashion, right? Yeah. I mean, that's much more lasting. Fashions come and go, but your health, you always want that optimized and maxed out. So, wow, that's interesting. Talk a little bit about if you could explain to somebody, right? There's a listener out there that doesn't really understand how the gut Because now they're thinking, okay, your stomach, your intestines, like, what are we talking about here? How does that really have an impact on your brain, right? How are those two connected? What's that relationship look like? Could you just talk on that for a few minutes at the, the kind of the more basic level? Because I think if more people just understood this a bit more,
yeah,
it would shake things up and really help people.
Sure. We have something called the gut-brain axis. We have a direct connection from our brain to our gut. Imagine the fact that your brain is what's telling all the rest of your body what to do. But it's interesting because between brain and gut, there's this two-way connection where when the gut is unhappy, brain is unhappy. When I meet people and they say, I'm anxious, I'm overwhelmed, I'm depressed, I don't feel great, when we get butterflies in our stomach because we're nervous, this is gut-brain connection speaking to us. And it's so important that we address gut issues and build a gut health and a gut microbiome that's strong, that's diverse, that's resilient, so that we can have brain health on point. If you want productivity, if you want great mood, if you want great sleep, if you want to have focus, if you want brain fog to evaporate, a lot of the issues that we're dealing with right now in society, mental health is so much of an issue right now. All of it can be addressed first through gut. And then second, there are additional tools if healing the gut's not enough. But if we can build a gut microbiome, like I said, that's strong, and the gut microbiome is like a garden. So a lot of times we think of gut as like, okay, well, I eat healthy, I'm fine. I eat yogurt, I get some probiotics, I'm fine. And the thing is, unfortunately, it's a forever evolving space. It's like a garden. Literally imagine a beautiful botanical garden you visited. You have to prune it. You have to replant it. After the winter season, you have to plant some more. In the winter, certain things will die. Certain invading pests will come in and cause lots of trouble for you. So you really have to look at your microbiome as this loving space that you're going to love for the rest of your life to have that key to vibrant health. And in Ayurveda, we also teach that the gut has a digestive fire. And that fire is something that we should ignite every morning, maintain all day, and put to rest at night, just like a campfire. So there's a lot of elements there, but if we can honor the gut fire as the key to our brain working well, our energy being great, our productivity being great, then all of a sudden it can be that key to all health that we crave.
Oh, that's cool. That's good. I like that. It's when you say microbiome, and I mean, I know what it is, but someone listening doesn't know what that quite means. And a good a healthy microbiome. Could you just touch on that just a bit further?
Sure. So within our gut, we have good bacteria and bad bacteria. We have an entire intestinal lining whose job it is to stay strong and healthy and pass food through it. 80% of our immune system resides alongside our gut lining. And so the problem is over 50% of people, in the West at least, suffer from leaky gut. That means that we've done stuff in our lives. You never know what it is for you. We all have different genetic makeups. For me, it could have been that large volume of fast food and soda and things that I did to myself as a kid because I thought that was normal and good. Most of us do. And so I have leaky gut. I have permeability in my gut lining. So what does that mean? That means sometimes if I eat inflammatory foods, it passes through, goes into my bloodstream, and my whole body reacts like it's under attack. And we call that an autoimmune flare-up or an autoimmune condition. So I have had to learn how to give up a lot of inflammatory foods to keep my system happy, heal my gut lining, and build it up to its healthiest. So the microbiome is really addressing the diversity of our gut and addressing us building a microbiome, a system for ourselves that's really healthy and strong. And it takes doing a lot of good work. It takes reduction of inflammation. So whether you're taking your omega-3s or you're taking herbs like turmeric, but reducing that inflammation that most of us are causing every day. externally or internally with food or environmental factors. It involves taking great probiotics to create gut diversity and good bacteria diversity. Anytime we take antibiotics, which some of us have to, some years you get really bad colds and bad things, and you have to take those antibiotics, that's okay. Doing a gut protocol to put all the good bacteria back in place. So we're supported again on our journey.
If you were to advise somebody of, I mean, and this is just the quick takeaway kind of, there's a lot out there about probiotics. And I've read and heard from people that oftentimes the best ones are the ones that have to be refrigerated versus ones that are just dry on a shelf in capsule form. What's your take on that? Because I think there's a lot of people that, are interested or are currently doing stuff, taking a digestive enzyme, taking probiotics, taking prebiotics, right? Taking a lot of these things, but are they taking ones that are actually effective, or is it just kind of, not doing much for them, yet they're shelling out all of this money?
I think one of the biggest issues we have is quality when it comes to supplements. So Wall Street Journal years ago, or New York Times, did an article on how 70% of the supplements in big box retailers, they tested them. Those supplements did not have the active ingredient at the level that they said. And instead, they were full of wood pulp and all sorts of stuff that was not on the label. And so I have a big mistrust for supplements that are at big box retailers now, because I'm like, are you reputable? Are you a trusted brand? Have you sold out to mega conglomerates abroad? Like, is the founder still caring about what's in this thing? And that's why when I built my supplement company, I'm overly obsessed with quality. So I'm very much into what goes into every capsule, and I know my suppliers. And I really encourage everyone to look at doctor's level supplements, medical grade supplements, those lines that are really going for professional use, because then they are investing in those quality ingredients. Because if the product doesn't work, the doctor's not going to recommend it to anyone anymore. I want to know what products are moving blood work. If I'm going to take a vitamin D, is it going to move my number, or am I wasting my time and money? So it's a big deal to look at the quality of the supplements. And sometimes I can go to a Whole Foods or places like that and find brands that are smaller and newer that have that quality and that potency. And then I look for myself. Like, I just started a vitamin A. I'm going to see, does it move my blood work or not? Can I trust that brand or not?
What are some of the, and there's a lot of foods out there that we can eat more of that are pretty good. What would you say are some of the ones for a nice healthy dose of probiotic? The foods like the sauerkrauts and stuff like that. What are some good options for people that are accessible and quickly infused into their life?
Sure. I think dropping inflammatory foods is the first step.
Yeah, the first step
to healing the gut. Because typically our digestive system is under attack. We kind of think of it as a garbage can, and anything we want to eat from any store that's sold as food, we can just throw into our system and assume that it can take it. And I talk to my kids a lot about that. Just because chemicals were put together in a package and sold as food doesn't mean that that's food to your system. It's foreign. So a lot of times the best way to get better gut health is just take out the junk. And once you take out all the junk, the system's like, oh, I can be healthy again. The system wants to be healthy. We're the problem. So that's one way. And then the second way, yes, there are fermented foods like kombucha and sauerkraut and those kinds of things, anything pickled. So a lot of times if I go to like a poke bowl place, I'll just get all the pickled stuff and get that variety in there. Pickled ginger, pickles, and things like that. Another way is yogurt. Yogurt does have probiotics. Taking probiotic supplements, of course, is great. And eating more fiber when you're taking your probiotics is important, because when you take fiber before you take a probiotic, the fiber is going to be what kind of slowly moves through the system and lets the probiotic slowly move through the system and inoculate the digestive lining and digestive system with that probiotic all the way through.
I'm glad you said that. And when a lot of people think fiber, right, I think there's certain foods that come to mind, but what would you say are some of the better fiber options out there for people that aren't on the shelf in the middle of the aisles of the grocery store. Better quality fiber based foods.
I think better quality fibers involves all the greens, right? So all the fresh vegetables, finding a way to incorporate more salads into your life. I lived at a place called Hippocrates Health Institute for 3 weeks with my family because I really wanted them to reverse some of their chronic diseases. And that whole place is based on eating a raw, vegan, sprout-based diet. And I didn't know that there were so many sprouts out there in the world. So now when I go to a Whole Foods or a Sprouts health store, I'll buy that box of sprouts, and I don't want to eat the box of sprouts alone, but I incorporate a little bit into my salads every day and get that in. So really, any raw, fresh vegetable that you're willing to eat is going to give you good fiber.
Which is also super low calorically. So it's like a double win, right? So you could just, I'll make these monstrous salads. Actually, we got all my wife has always loved salad, and the kids like salad as long as you're putting chicken and stuff on it, or, something. And there's you have the right dressing, but it's a great, I would say, sneaky way, right? Of giving your kids something that, it is just so much better than the quick fix meals that a lot of parents, and I'm not blaming or pointing fingers, I'm just saying, we're all busy, and I get it. And sometimes our kids are super picky, but we got to try and find some go-to healthy options for them, because we're developing habits, right? And like what you did, when you were younger, you developed some bad habits when it came to your nutrition, and that resulted in you being chronically ill for years and years and years until you were able to take control of that. So as parents out there, or young adults who are thinking about eventually having kids, like, take some ownership there, create some good habits in your own life, and then try to, include your kids. I just had another past episode, I spoke with a chef, and he has a great thing that he's doing with, he's doing spices infused with organ meat. Yeah, it's amazing, right? Because how much nutrition is in organs, liver, pancreas, like all this stuff. So he has dried organ meat with spices, so you can just, in a pinch on food, he can put stuff that's like, has so many vitamins and minerals and things. And it's a kind of, again, a sneaky way of creating healthy food for your family or for kids who can be super picky eaters. But it does start with young people, because we just kind of, whatever we're doing when we're in our younger years kind of is what we end up doing. We don't wake up one day and we're like, oh, I'm just going to eat healthy now.
No, it's true. I think a lot about my children's fertility. And I know that sounds weird, but one day when my kids have their own children, I want them to be able to have children. And so that was a very conscious decision when I was pregnant. And I wrote a whole book called The Conscious Pregnancy because I'm obsessed. But when we're pregnant, I think that's the best time to honor our health and really build a body that's ready to house our future child. Then once we have this child, Ayurveda has a lot of thoughts on managing post-pregnancy and things like that, but I kept everything glass, plastic-free, cleaner diapers, cleaner wipes. Like, I was trying to do everything I could to prevent my children from developing problems, because every mom I saw had a kid who had autism, allergies, ADHD, autoimmune conditions. The list goes on. And I thought, okay, well, I just want to prevent that. And what's not so funny is I did all the work and I kept everything so organic and clean. And my kid still got an autoimmune condition. And it was so humbling. I was like, wow, you can do so much work and it still happens. It just is a powerful reminder of how triple important it is that we focus on vibrant health, gut health, really focusing on the source of our food, how we source that food, how we prepare that food. And like you mentioned, I mean, my kids are picky and they're tough, and I try so hard to feed them well, and they want to eat Doritos and Oreos, and they make so much fun of me. They're like, Mommy, they gave us Oreos and aftercare. And I'm like, oh my God. I cannot. This is an uphill battle. I'm like, fine, then you will eat nuts, cheese, and fruit when you get home. Like, we have to counterbalance.
That's right.
For adding salad to dinner. Like, I can't control what you're doing outside of here, but I will control what happens in my home.
For every Oreo cookie, one more bowl of salad. That's right. It's like, I got to offset this. But I mean, kids are kids, right? And they're going to want a little chocolate here, or they're going to want a donut or a bowl of ice cream. But it's how portioning things and frequency. Kids shouldn't be able to just have a whole box of something in front of them to eat at will. It should be portioned out, and they should have to ask, or should be a special occasion for things like this. And by the way, I love what you just said, like nuts, fruit, cheese, like those snacks, like my kids love those things. And I love those things. So sometimes it'll be like midday or 2 or 3 o'clock. Everyone's already had breakfast and lunch, but someone's hungry or whatever. It's like, I'll go over, I'll cut some good cheese, I'll cut some apple slices, I'll get some different nuts, pistachios out of the shell already, or some type of, and just make a plate. And they'll be like, ooh, that looks good. And they'll start, they'll want some of their own. I'm like, yeah, I know. I figured you would. That's why I cut up 5 apples, so we could all enjoy it. But an apple a day kind of does keep the doctor away. Right? Yep. I mean, it's like stupid, silly stuff that we said when we were little, but there's truth in it.
It's true. It's true. And a walk a day also keeps the doctor away. We keep that lymphatic system moving. We keep that digestive system moving. We clear our brain. We let Mother Nature, vitamin D, and the sun and the breeze heal us. So, I mean, honestly, between an apple, the water, and the walking outside, we don't need to complicate it that much.
Yeah, I know. We're good at that, aren't we, as human beings, but certainly as Americans. We complicate the heck out of things because we think, oh, well, must be better. It's more complex. It's like, no, oftentimes simpler is better. It's like we're ruining ourselves just for this. So chronic inflammation, it's come up a little bit, but like, why is it so deadly and so scary? Like long-term chronic inflammation, what does that look like? Especially for those people listening who are maybe into their 40s or 50s and have been living a certain way for decades now. Talk a little bit about what that chronic inflammation is, but what you're able to do and to see kind of some fairly quick change in your life.
Sure. So one of my Ph.D. advisors gave me the best example. He called it light switches. So the example he gave was, in our 20s, we go around and we are drinking, partying, eating fast food, eating whatever we want, pulling all-nighters in school, really just going through the gamut of everything. Stress, trying to get into school, heartbreak, whatever those things are. And basically we flip on the light switches of inflammation. It's almost like in a house, if someone took a cigarette and like dropped it somewhere in a corner, and slowly a fire's brewing. Might take some time for that to really light something up and start to spread. So we've created a fire, but we might not realize that we've created the fire. And then all of a sudden, 30s goes through, 40s go through, the fire is slowly burning. It's a chronic inflammatory state. It's a fire that's going on through all of our systems. Finally, in our 40s, we start to complain a little. We're like, oh, I worked out and I'm still tired. Or I feel achy. Or I don't know why I'm so fatigued. I don't feel like going out anymore. Or my hair is changing. I'm getting so many grays, my skin, whatever the complaints are. My digestion's always off. I guess that's just me now. I can't eat half the foods I used to. Then all of a sudden, 50s, the fire's getting louder. We're complaining now. Now we're really going to the doctor. Our cholesterol's higher. The blood work is showing some problems. 60s, now you're talking about metastasis. You're talking about a fire that you let burn. You never turned off those light switches. And all of a sudden you're at the land of diagnoses and medical management and treatment plans that you might not really love because they're much more serious than if we had turned those light switches off way earlier. And so that's why in Ayurveda, I keep saying, hey guys, we have to reduce inflammation every day. We have to address gut health every day. We have to really turn those switches off. Otherwise, the end stage looks horrible. My family has diabetes, everybody. And the end stages I saw growing up were so horrific. I said, that can't happen to me. I have to choose a better path.
Wow. That's frightening. And diabetes, not all diabetics, but so much of it is preventative, isn't it?
Absolutely. We can reverse diabetes in our bodies. It just takes work. It takes a commitment. It takes dedication. But I've seen it. I've had people in my own family. And I know in my own blood work, I have such a strong genetic predisposition to diabetes. If I don't watch it, my blood work will walk right up to the line. My doctor will say, you're pre-diabetic. I'm like, I'm going to go drop 10 pounds. I'll see you in 2 months. Don't worry. It's not an issue. And certainly I won't take medication. And I'll back right away from the line. But that's my predisposition, and I'm a health nut who does the work all day. So imagine most of us in society are busting through those lines and causing trouble for our health and not realizing how much practice we have to put in place to stay away from those diagnoses.
Yeah. I did an episode not that long ago with Gillis Pellegrin. He works with a great friend of ours, William Grazione, at The Educated Dieter, and we were talking about the the importance of blood work and people getting work done on a regular and knowing what those numbers mean in consultations and things. Could you talk on that for a minute? Because maybe someone missed that episode or we'll have to go back and listen to it. But you go and get your own blood work done on a regular basis. I too. I'm actually overdue. I gotta go. I'm glad you have mentioned it because it's my turn to go get it checked again. But talk about that for a minute because it's such a good way for people to kind of have a good overview of things and you can see things that are maybe a little high that can be, like as you said, prevent, this is a little high, not in a good range here. So I would suggest this, and then you can work on that and then come back and see me in 6 months and let's see if that's come down.
Sure. So the problem I see is most people want to go to their primary doctor once a year. They want to do their annual checkup with some basic blood work. They receive that very basic blood work, and usually the doctor says, you're fine, unless you crossed way over into the red zone and your numbers are like, oh my gosh, this is definitely diabetes. This is high cholesterol. You need to start this medication. If you're anywhere in the range of not way over in the red zone, they're going to say you're fine. And I've seen that myself. I've taken family members to the doctor and they're like, well, your dad's not going to change anyway. And I'm like, that's simply not true. That can't be our response to most people in society, that just because they're walking in and the blood work's not awesome, well, I can't possibly ask them to get on a diet, lose 10 pounds, exercise, and make some changes. So my frustration is that's not enough answers for any of us to live optimally. We must take a much deeper dive into our blood work and into our health. So I personally love functional medicine because functional medicine is taking Western medicine and adding in all the integrative modalities and understanding that there's a lot bigger of a toolkit that we can reach into for our health. And functional medicine will look at the same blood work. They'll order a ton more blood work. I have like 10 pages on my blood every time, but they'll have a different range that they're looking at. So they'll say, yeah, in traditional, you're fine. But in the functional world, you're a pre-diabetic and you've got some work to do. In my functional world, I want your vitamin D much higher. In the functional medicine world, look at your vitamin A, your omega-3, your B12, your CoQ10, your iron. So I like to have blood work that shows me all of my deficiencies because those deficiencies are going to eventually add up to disease. If I don't address all my underlying issues, I'm going to have a thyroid condition. I'm going to have other issues. If these vitamin deficiencies exist, then there's an underlying gut issue. We have to do stool tests and dive deeper into what our health is and then address those issues. Those are the root cause issues that add up to all disease. So I really see the world where we need functional medicine to give us the data and some of the protocols that we need to do to fix those issues. And then the rest of the pie is applying the Ayurvedic lifestyle to ourselves so that we don't cause those deficiencies and problems again and then have to do that work again.
Right. That's great. Do you have, are there places in mind that you feel are, that are accessible in certain cities or states that you would recommend? I think that people are like, well, where do I go? Where is there, where do I look to find a place near me that would be worthy of what you've said, that's not just a one sheet analysis, but more in depth that really gives me detailed information?
Sure. So Dr. Mark Hyman is the father of functional medicine, and he created something called the Institute for Functional Medicine. So a lot of people go to their website to find a functional medicine practitioner. In my case, I meet functional medicine practitioners all the time because they carry my supplements and recommend them to patients. So the Fusionary 100 doctors who exist, yes, I convinced them to carry a turmeric supplement, but I also interviewed them. I like to know who they are, what they're about, who they help. So here in South Florida, I'm kind of a director. I'm like air traffic control. I'm like, you need that guy. You need this lady, because everyone has a different specialty. So I really encourage people to go on that website and look at them, but also really interview the practitioner and say, hey, like, what do you specialize in? Is it mold? Is it gut? Is it inflammation? Because otherwise we can go down these rabbit holes with our health, and we're doing so much work, but we might not be getting the result. So it's just about finding the right practitioner. And I find that functional medicine in the end will still say, do circadian rhythm, fix your sleep, and do all that. And I love, really teaching people how to build that into our lives as a ritual that we enjoy, as opposed to a chore that we have to do.
That's right. Absolutely. A chore will not stick, right? A chore is a temporary thing that we're having to really motivate ourselves to do, versus something that we take joy in, that's pleasurable, like a walk outside in nature, as we've said repeatedly now just on this episode, how life-giving that is and enjoyable. And I know for some people that they could care less about a walk outside, but it's the happiest people I see in retirement are usually the husband and wife walking hand in hand on the sidewalk together or at the beach, and they just have a glow or a look on their face. It's like, why are they happy? You know why? Because they're doing something that they know is good for them. And they've probably been doing it a long time, and it's obviously working because they're healthy, they're happy, and there's something to it. We've just like robbed ourselves of those simple things in life that are so rewarding. And oddly enough, you said I didn't realize, because you said you're from Texas, but you're in South Florida now, you said.
Yeah.
So where in Florida are you?
Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay. So you're on the East Coast. So I used to live over there. We're based here in Clearwater, Tampa. So we're not all that far from you.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah,
we love our state because it is the Sunshine State, so we get plenty of that down here.
It's beautiful. I do yoga outdoors. I walk with my husband every weekend. I push my children that the beach and the ocean is so healing, and we live close to it. We should go over there, just drive over and walk on the beach and enjoy it. One thing I teach out of Ayurveda is called the self-care rituals that we can do every single day. And what's beautiful is Ayurveda is similar to naturopathic medicine, because you're talking about walking outside. We believe in getting outside more, doing yoga outside, walking outside, but also bringing nature into your home. So how can you plant more plants into your home to clean up the air? How can you use oils and herbs and spices to kind of bring plant medicine into your own body? Because that is what's going to support you most. We are made of nature. And so I love to share that with people. It's like, drink teas, use herbs and spices, realize that herbs and spices are superfoods. They're not just spices that are sitting there kind of dead in a bottle for flavor. So when we talk about like salmon and blueberries and superfoods, add spices into that mix, like turmeric and ginger and all of these.
Yeah, no doubt. Not only do they make it taste better, but they have a huge impact on overall nutrition for that meal. Love that. What are some of your top, would you say, plants and herbs for people, since we're kind of talking about that? What are things that are at the grocery store that maybe people have been walking past for years? I was one of those people that don't realize what they're walking past, that there's so much value in this, that, or the other. Could you give me like a a 5 to 10 item grocery cart plan for somebody, simply like, here's some items that you should consider getting and maybe how you can use them?
Sure. Ginger is the first one that comes to mind. Fresh ginger is so good for you. I just chop it up, peel it first, chop it up, and boil it in water and have ginger lemon tea first thing in the morning. And that ignites the digestive fire. And some people will say, well, can't I just buy bagged ginger tea? You could. It's not the same thing as doing fresh and getting that potency of freshness in the system. So ginger is one of my absolute favorites, of course, because my PhD is on turmeric and I'm obsessed with turmeric. Turmeric is anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal. So to me, it's like the king of the herbs that can do things for us. So using turmeric, the spice, is very effective. And then, of course, I believe that using the extract is much, much more potent for inflammation. But still, adding turmeric into our lives as a spice is important, and using it with black pepper or a healthy fat whenever we do that to increase the absorption by 2,000%. So those are really my absolute top two. In India, we really love cilantro. Cilantro detoxes heavy metals out of the body. So it's a very good spice to use because at any given time, we could be consuming foods that add metals to our body. So to remove them is a good idea. I don't know. It's funny because the American grocery store is actually different than the Indian grocery store. So we have an entirely different system. But we do have this spice box in every Indian household that I learned in my Ayurvedic studies was like the key to health. And so in that, we also have coriander, that's dried cilantro. We have red chili powder. Paprika and red chili powder is going to ignite digestion. So anytime you add black pepper or red pepper to something, you'll enhance digestion. So let's say you have sluggish digestion, not irritated, but sluggish. You can add pepper in there to ignite that digestion better. And then I also reach for teas a lot. So peppermint tea is one I keep in my bag at all times. So if I eat something that's inflammatory or irritating to my system, sometimes I'm in a restaurant and something that I'm eating I'm intolerant to, I'll just quickly ask for a cup of hot water, add a peppermint tea bag in there, and my whole system will get cooled down within moments. And so that's where I find plant medicine and plant magic is so powerful. If you know which one to reach for at any given time, you have like a pharmacy, F-A-R-M, pharmacy at your fingertips in your own home that you can use and that you can reach for.
Yeah. I've never been one to, and I'm not, there's a lot of issues out there. I understand where people have to be on like long-term medicinal, plans. And I get that. But I'm a person, I don't like to take Tylenol. I don't like taking Advil. I don't want it. I don't like to be, I almost feel like there's such an addiction for people where they're just popping stuff because they know, I got a little bit of a headache. So I'm going to, how about drink a glass of water?
Exactly.
I bet your headache goes away in 10 minutes if you have a full glass of water.
Yeah.
Because you're probably dehydrated, which is 80 to 90% of the people listening right now, by the way.
Sure.
Because most people are chronically dehydrated, and it's not because you're not drinking a lot of stuff. It's that you're not drinking enough water, and you're over consuming other things that are diuretics. Yes. So anyway, don't get me going there. But I just don't like the idea of pill popping.
Yeah.
I like the idea of less pill popping and more. What's the natural way to? What's the root thing that I can get to and pull out the root rather than just trying to keep pulling the weed. I've said this before many times. We keep pulling the weed out, but they're not getting the root. So the weed keeps growing back and they're like, can't seem to get past this issue. Yeah. I mean, you gotta fix it. You gotta go a few layers deeper, like the things that you've suggested. I love that. And I've heard this now multiple times about get the ginger, like number one, like you didn't even think about it.
Yeah, ginger was my first. And I was in my mind, I'm like, you have to say turmeric first. You love turmeric more. But I honestly love them pretty equally because ginger's a sister to turmeric, first of all. Okay. It's also so good for the digestive system. It ignites digestion. It supports digestion. It's soothing soothing to digestion. So look at the intelligence of that one plant in supporting us. And then when it comes to turmeric, I am someone who doesn't like to pop pills either. And that's what I did for many years of my life, thinking that it would support me, and it didn't. And so now when I go to an orthopedic doc and he says, I need you to take NSAIDs 3 times a day, 4 times a day for 7 days, all of a sudden I've done that too. I'll get stomach aches after. My whole system's like, wait, you can't eat now. Like, what did you do to me? So I built an entire supplement company so that I would never have to take NSAIDs again. And that was my goal, was can you build things out of plant medicine that are so potent that they drive the same result, so someone can reach for a natural tool instead of an unnatural tool that has side effects. And so that's where plant medicine, I find, can be so potent, is we can drive a result now. We have enough science to do so. It's just about the desire to do so. And for me personally, I needed a solution, so I went ahead and made it. So I agree with you. We can reach for so many more natural solutions than we realize.
Wow. That's great. It's empowering. And that's what I want for people to feel from this conversation, is that they're in so much control of their lives and their health. And I think so many people feel like they don't have control over it, that they need the doctor and they need the prescriptions and they need, and it's like, I'm not saying you shouldn't, have those in your life, but do you have it's like, how much control do you have over your physical fitness? 100%, really, right? And so it's an accountability issue, I guess. People does take a little bit of work to make change, but if you start small and just start, as you said earlier in the conversation, what's the number one thing that people can start doing for their gut is omission of things. Get rid of some stuff that's bad in your life, in your diet, your bad habits, and start practicing a new habit that's positive, that's helpful, that is healthy and life-giving. If getting up 10 minutes earlier allows you to go walk for 10 minutes before work, or replace something you're drinking with a glass of water, or just simple things like that, getting a rhythm, and then all of a sudden adopting a few more new ones later on, it gets easier.
It does.
Yeah.
And honestly, once you're in momentum, once you get that ball rolling, it's easier to keep it in motion. And where I find people come to me is they're like, yeah, I had this surgery, I stopped working out, and now it's been 2 years. And I look at them like, oh my God, come to my gym. I'll work out with you myself. Like, you just need a friend. You just need someone to hold your hand through the pain called starting something new. And once you do, it's going to be fine because you'll have that momentum. So I use the word addiction, which I've been told not to, but I want people to be addicted to feeling so good that they let go of all the other habits that don't make them feel amazing. It's almost like I want you to crave self-care. I want you to crave exercise. I want you to crave yoga, because you know how insanely energized and incredible you can feel in your body. And once you know that feeling, when you start to feel crappy and low, you're going to say, you know what? I was feeling better. What were those practices? And you'll reach for them again. They were probably self-care practices, time in nature, sleeping better, those simple things that we've been talking about.
Yeah. 100%. It's a healthy obsession.
Yes.
And there are such things. They're out there, and everyone's capable of adopting some of these things for real change, to live their best life and just to feel better. So that being said, tell me more about Fusionary Formulas, what you're doing, and how this is changing lives. And I'm really curious to know more for myself too, because it sounds like something I would like to get involved with?
Sure. So I built Fusionary Formulas 7 years ago. And after I finished my PhD, I was obsessed with turmeric, the spice. I kept evangelizing it. Anyone who came my way who had pain or inflammation or anything, any itis, I would say, listen, that's just inflammation. Like, let's just reduce it with turmeric. It'll work. And so what's beautiful is when I went to build my company, I had one goal. I wanted to prove we didn't have to take NSAIDs. And I went to my factory. It's someone who I had known for 10 years who's here in Florida. And I said, let's go source the most crazy potent curcumin we can find on earth. And so we found one, medical grade, but it was so expensive, thousands of dollars. And he said, no supplement company would do this. Like, this is crazy. You don't understand multiples and business if you think this is a good idea. And I was like, how about we humor me? Let's just humor me. I kind of want to prove my point. And one day I'll turn this into a business and model and all that stuff that works. But I'd like to prove that this can exist. And so I built it and put it into the hands of doctors, and they were like, wow, my patient came off the other stuff. You cut our opioid use in our practice in half. My patients love your stuff. They're taking it forever now. They have joint pain, chronic joint pain. They were losing function in their hands and their knees, and now they're not. And what was more fun even than all that was sometimes people have very weird issues, and inflammation is the root cause, and no one would have predicted it. Like allergies. There's all sorts of things I've seen over these last 7 years where people are like, you helped me with this problem, and I wasn't even taking it for that. So to me, I really enjoy meeting with practitioners. I enjoy meeting with doctors. I love educating the world that turmeric can be that potent extract that we use as a daily preventive. And then we can also add on a second formula that makes it function more like a painkiller, something that'll really reduce the inflammation that's causing the pain that we have in the first place. And then from there, I realized inflamed people don't sleep. So I dove into sleep as a topic. I built a sleep drop formula so people can get a perfect night's sleep, so you can clear the inflammation overnight and then reduce it during the day. So my whole world is inventing formulas to help people.
Wow, that is so cool. So where can our listeners who are now super intrigued, and they've obviously learned a lot from you and grown to love you in just the last hour, where can they start going to find out more about how they can start taking control of their own health?
Well, the website for Fusionary is fusionaryformulas.com, FUSIONARY. And then my website is ShivaniGupta.com. And on there, I have a free inflammation guide, sleep guide. So a lot of the things I teach, I like to teach the lifestyle portion, but I know that a lot of times people want to get out of trouble fast and get pain-free fast. And that's where Fusionary comes in. It can be that daily support that you take while you're putting your lifestyle habits in place. You kind of settle the fire and then embark on the good habits.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrific. Yeah. I'm anxious to see what I want to start incorporating into my life a little bit more, because there's always something that we can do. You know, as good as I feel I am most times, I still have some sneaky bad habits, things that I don't need to be. I almost ate chocolate chip cookies last night, and I didn't. I don't know if it was knowing I was going to be talking to you today, but everyone went to bed, and I got home late from baseball with my son, and I'm sitting there reading at the kitchen table. I'm in this great big thick book right now, and I'm loving it. And I was like, ooh, I could really go for something right now, you know? And then I was like, no, don't. All right, not maybe 5 minutes. I'll wait 5 more minutes. And I kind of did the wait game where I didn't tell myself no. I just said maybe, and then finally I was like, dude, it's late. I got to go to bed. All right, no cookie for me. So I that was like a win. That was like a total win.
That is a win. It's hard, you know. Each habit, I think, takes time to eliminate out of our lives. And I'm a big fan of showing everyone how imperfect I am, because my friends and everyone, based on my Instagram, I share everything on stories. They're like, oh, you're too perfect, because I'll post only the good stuff. And so I'm like, no. Don't hide your Coca-Cola and your soda and all the things. I know you're going to do that stuff. It's okay. We all have our vices. And whatever those are, or those treats or those enjoyments, that's okay. It's about crowding them out and doing majority good and still enjoying life a bit. So I'm about both and, not either or.
That's right. No, that's great. I'm glad you said that. Where can people follow you on Instagram?
I'm at Dr.Shivani Gupta and at Fusionary Formulas RX.
Terrific. All right. I'll be making sure we're following those here at Critical Bench and me personally. So that's great. And everything that you just shared will be in our show notes, our description for this episode. So listeners, just go right down there, take a look, click a link, and you can find out more about what Dr. Gupta is doing. And it's fabulous. I really, I get so much out of these conversations. It's always, what it's good is, it's like, as much as I feel like I know, what you are able to do is kind of like reinforce and then relearn, or when you hear things said you get new perspective on things, and it's just so helpful and enlightening for me. So I thank you for just really teaching me today, but of course, we're helping thousands of people on the other side. So that always feels good too.
Absolutely.
So,
thank you.
Yeah. So listeners, another great conversation today on Strong by Design. As always, we deliver every single week here. We just keep getting all these great experts, and I didn't even realize she was in my backyard, literally, here in Fort Lauderdale. So that's great. We'll be back next week, as always. A new episode drops on Wednesdays here on Strong by Design. So if you are new, just keep coming back every week for a new Wednesday episode. Sometimes we have some bonus ones that pop up on a Saturday if we have a part 2 of a long episode or something like that. But it's been real fun. Now's the time to think of someone in your life that you could share this conversation with, who maybe has some bad habits or some things they're doing that, if they could just gain some control and gain some momentum and start making those healthy decisions, that it could turn their life around for the better. So please share now. That would be great. I thank you so much. And we love you here at Strong by Design. God bless, and talk soon.
Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.